Today in the news, Texas youth prisons and advocates complain and file over Texas youth prison conditions and the City of Dallas's hospital capacity report. Today is October 22nd, 2020, and this is Dallas Weekly News. Hello, I'm your host, Patrick Washington, and this is Dallas Weekly News. Two youth advocacy groups wrote in a federal complaint Wednesday that the detainees in Texas juvenile prisons suffer from frequent physical and sexual abuse, inadequate mental health care, and high rates of staff turnover. According to Texas Appleseed and Disability Rights Texas, the rights of hundreds of youths detained in 5 secure facilities around the state continue to be violated despite recent and long-standing efforts at reform. The groups are asking the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate conditions in Texas Juvenile Justice Department lockups, which they say have become harder to monitor because of the coronavirus pandemic. In their complaint to the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, the groups say inadequate staffing has made chaos commonplace in the 5 rural facilities. The complaint is based on public records, reports from the youth prison's state ombudsman, and interviews with the young people and their families. The advocates found gangs are largely unchecked in the facilities, young people suffer sexual abuse at rates higher than the national average, and staffs are excessive in their use of restraints and pepper spray. The complaint says mental health care is inadequate throughout the department, and a high percentage of the counselors working in the facilities are not licensed. The Texas Juvenile Justice Department has worked to improve conditions since 2007, when media reports of the physical and sexual abuse in the state facilities raised concerns with state judges and lawmakers. Since then, the department has closed several lockups and reduced the number of young people incarcerated, as well as releasing a reform plan for lawmakers to consider in the next legislative session. It calls for more funding for county-run youth facilities and moving state operations closer to cities to make hiring and retaining staff easier. Texas Appleseed and Disability Rights Texas credited their plan with the best of intentions, but said it calls for a lower staff-to-youth ratio than the current model and cannot change the issues inherent in the youth prisons. Texas Appleseed is a nonprofit that advocates for social and economic justice, and Disability Rights Texas is a nonprofit empowered by law to advocate for people with disabilities and investigate abuse. And now the City of Dallas's hospital capacity report. This has been Dallas Weekly News. I'm your host, Patrick Washington. You can find these and more stories on dallasweekly.com, and follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And as always, if you can, please stay home, stay safe, and we will see you again tomorrow.